Hey guys, it's towniesimbuilds here, and welcome back to another bite-sized speed build. Now, as you can tell from the title of today's video, we are working on a schoolhouse library today. And this idea has kind of been on the back of my head, it has been on my bucket list, but it's taken me a little while to figure out how exactly I want to create this lot. So originally it was going to be super rustic. I think I was going for Henford-on-Bagley, cottage living. But yeah, I think I have really exhausted that style. So I did want to try something a little bit different. So if you are looking for the inspiration for this build, I don't really have a particular image in mind, but I was looking up a lot of colonial schoolhouses from back in the day. So normally they are shaped somewhat like this. They are a sort of large one-room building. There is sort of a gabled roof, if I'm using the right terminology, and then some kind of steeple on the top. So it feels a little bit like a wedding chapel, but that really is the style of the building back then. And normally in these classrooms, there is usually a stove or furnace towards the back. So all the kids, all the students would be piled in. There usually is a smaller bump out towards the front, which I believe to be sort of a mudroom perhaps, or sort of like an area for school materials, shoes. Yeah, I think you guys get my drift. But yes, here is the completed shell, or at least we are getting fairly close to getting the main school itself completed. And overall, I did want it to be a little bit rustic. I imagine that perhaps this lot was a little bit more refurbished. Maybe some very kind individuals came out to the countryside, they found this sort of abandoned schoolhouse, and wanted to modernize it just a little bit. So we do make use out of the objects from Eco Lifestyle. We do have the wooden paneling, and I think starting off, I did use the... what's the word? Roof tiles, yes. I did use the sort of metal or the corrugated metal from the Eco Lifestyle pack as well. But that will change. I went through a lot of variations on the roof color. So what you're seeing right now with the slate gray is not yet final. I'm going to bring in some island living. But anyways, the area to the left is actually a little cafe area. So it's kind of a patio, if you will. And I did create a little bit of a trellis design there. And overall, as a side note, I really did want to make this lot somewhat cross-compatible with the cafe. So if you don't really enjoy this lot as a library, it does have all the fixtures you need for a cafe as well. So you will see a bar over there later. But right now, we're just finishing off some of the landscaping. I do go in and add a little bit of terrain paint. I always love using these pine needles, I do believe they're called. It's kind of soft and brown. It's better than some of the muddier textures that I kind of stay away from. And of course, using my favorite debug stepping stones, also from base game. And yeah, just patting it in there with more of the pine needles. I do experiment a little bit with the landscaping here. And again, it went through many variations, but we will get to that shortly. And like I said, I do switch up the roofing material as well. Originally, this was very black and white. It was very monochromatic, but I wanted this lot to be a little bit more fun, you know? Have a little bit of character, have little pops of color. So we do have the sort of rusted yellow on the bump out. And then we do also have these really nice orange flowers that I think are from base game as well. Now, I do also use these wooden fence pieces that I scaled down from debug, and they were kind of a nightmare to place down. Especially if you don't have a tool, they're very hard to situate on terrain, especially when the terrain is not flat. So I actually had to delete the sort of front stepping area and then replace that back in once the fencing was complete. Anyways, we're moving on to the inside now. I'm just finishing off the little mudroom area. I kind of started, I put the sort of coat rack from the Seasons pack, but then for some reason I leave it behind. I'm just a very chaotic builder. But here we are, again using more objects from Seasons. I do use the sort of cross beams from the Seasons pack. And like I mentioned, I did want to include that furnace or stove towards the back. So I imagine that this could have been one of the original elements of the schoolhouse, trying to keep all the teachers and students warm back in the day. And I still want to include some rustic elements here as well. The bookcases were definitely one of them. They're from the Get Together pack. And I originally went for a very contemporary option for the bookcases. I think I tried Seasons, it just wasn't working. So yeah. The interior of this, you guys, it probably went through a good 3 or 4 different versions. So I was recording this footage, I looked back and I was like, nope, this is not quite it. I wanted something that was just a tiny bit rustic, but was still very eclectic, a little bit more modernized. So what you're seeing now is the 3rd or 4th go around. So hopefully this style appeals to you. But we do use the bench from Get Together. We do use the sort of reupholstered armchairs from the Eco Lifestyle pack. And then I also squeeze in a little bathroom towards the right as well. So that was definitely one of the requirements for the library. And at least it's gender neutral. I could only fit in one bathroom, so I thought that did the trick. Anyways, for the furniture, I did want a lot of the colors to mirror the roof itself, which is very strange. I don't think I've ever coordinated colors on the inside to the roof outside, but I love those pops of yellow and sort of teal, especially because a lot of the inside is very cream. It's very light brown, so I thought we needed a little bit of fun color accents in here. I do use the desk options from the Eco Lifestyle pack, and I do believe it's the desks that you can craft, which I thought were really fun, and thankfully they did also match the color scheme I was going for. Now you will see in this area, I did have another lonely computer area there, but that will change. I did want to include an area for the kids, so that will be completely redone. And now I'm just going in and putting some very simple plants along each of the different desks in the library itself. Anyways, at this point, I'm trying to finish the central reading area. We do have one towards the back next to the fireplace, but ultimately when I was doing this spot, I didn't want to repurpose the same furniture pieces. So those wooden armchairs you see, yep, they're gone. There they go, but I do replace them with other options from the Eco Lifestyle pack. And beautifully, they happen to match this large sofa from the Island Living pack, which I really did want to include. I do add these base game paintings or pictures in as well. I thought they were very interesting. They're definitely sketches of older buildings, and I did want to pay homage to the history of the schoolhouse itself. So those could have been former art pieces that were here. Maybe they were sketches of the schoolhouse itself. Yeah, they're definitely far more complex in design, but I thought it was a little bit of history that I wanted to keep in this build, at least canonically in the lore in my head. Anyways, we're moving on to the one and only bathroom. This bathroom was a little strange. I think I tried going for a more modern design at first, but just like the paintings, I did want to include an older fixture there, kind of speaking to the history of the schoolhouse. So I do use the older get-together option for the sink, but we do have some rustic touches. I do change the floorboards, and I do use the apple crate box once more. I do also use a very cool object that I love from Eco Lifestyle, and it's the collection of paintings that I'm sure you guys are very familiar with. I think originally they were either supposed to be on display or thrown away. I'm not really sure how they're intended to be used, but they do sit perfectly on the base game shelf, so I thought it was a really nice decoration, and then just using a quick small Eco Lifestyle rug to complete the look. Moving back outside, I completely neglected to put in some kind of front desk area, some place where you would check in or check out books. So I do use a different color desk for this one. All the other ones are either in a yellow or blue shade for the library goers, I guess you'd call them. Yes, but I think you get my drift. Like I mentioned, I do go back, I do change out that area by the window, and this will be a very tiny children's nook. So we do have the really cool infant update rug that I enjoy. I do use the base game bear armchairs, I think they're called. And I tried using this option from Eco Lifestyle, but ultimately I go for the base game activity table. So it's kind of a small spot if I'm being completely honest with you guys, but I think this is wonderful if you have families that come with toddlers and children. This is definitely an area they can use. And just finishing off the space with the little children's bookshelf from the base game as well. Like I said, I finally returned to the little mudroom area, just finishing off this space with the season's sort of love seat, if you will, and then the shelf object and the pottery object from the Eco Lifestyle pack. Shifting over to the outside now, we will finish off this build with the main cafe area. So like I mentioned, this lot is fully compatible with both the cafe and library, so it's really up to you guys with what you want to do with this lot. For me, I do still use it as a library, so we do have the necessary chess table by the window there. And I do also fill the space with a lot of simple dining tables as well. I do believe the chairs are pulled from the inside once more, so we do use the yellow and blue eco-lifestyle chairs. And come to think of it, I think unfortunately if this is primarily a library, I don't think a barista will actually show up, which I never understand with The Sims, but hopefully if you have a sim that can run the bar area itself, or if you guys want to hire one, you can also do that as well. Just adding in a little bit of clutter here, I do use the menu board from the Get Together pack, along with the little wagon with the flowers on top. And finally finishing the outside with some of these seasons lanterns, which I think fit the build perfectly. And I think I also used them on the inside, so it was a little bit of double dipping, but I do think it worked. I do use some of the base game outdoor lights as well, kind of stealthily sneaking them inside the debug fences. So it kind of looks like they're kind of overhanging over the edge. And I think at this point, I just complete the front entrance area. I do add in that one object on the bar. And then I also add in these really nice sort of topiary plants from the Eco Lifestyle pack, and then a nice rug as well. Alright guys, and that is a wrap on the schoolhouse library in the world of Windenburg. Now whether you use this lot as a cafe or a library, definitely let me know which one you prefer, but either way I hope this is a really small and cozy lot for your Sims to enjoy. Just like always, this is still a no CC, no mod, limited pack build, and will be available on the Sims 4 gallery as well. I'll leave you guys now with the final cinematic shots of the build, and as always, this has been towniesimbuilds signing off. Thank you so much for watching, guys.